but I feel like I should have
The
just
1 hour short that's open now.
yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I feel like I could have taken profits around like yesterday and then re-entered, but I wasn't. I was thinking maybe it'll just like go all the way down, but I have a better understanding of how to maneuver um, in that regard.
You know, and a lot of times, and man, I've been on both sides of that coin. It's like, man, I should have taken profits and re-entered. And then, you know, one time you'll take profits and then you either won't get the re-entry and it'll continue, or, you know, you're like, oh, well, I'll re-enter now. And then it goes against you. You know, it really is comes down to how much time can you put into watching the chart. Because I've done that before. I'll take a long, but I'm going to take profits here and get back in on the retest. Well, I wasn't around for the fucking retest. You know what I mean? I was doing some other shit, not sitting here in front of the chart. And I mean, profit, bro. So no one's going to get broke taking profits. You know, or a lot of times.
I gotta keep that in mind because the degen in me wants to, you know, reap what the better value, but sometimes you know you just gotta take it.
And that's the, you know, the human emotion that market makers know they can prey upon is small wins don't really feel like wins. You're like, oh, I want more, I need more. That's not really nothing. But those small wins are what add up. It's the same reason those small losses, you know, not keeping track of them, all of a sudden you're like, where did my account go? You know, it's what you'll hear a lot of people call death by paper cut.
Yeah,
you know, it's just slowly, nick by nick, bleeding you out. But that's why if you keep your losses small, you know, or a lot of times what I may trade is I may, once I'm into profit, I may move my stop loss to 0. And by doing so, if it comes back, maybe you know, it gets me out before it goes the other way, or maybe it stops me out and then hey, I can re-enter if it does look like it's going to go the right way again. But I often move my stop losses to 0 or break even once I feel like it's kind of shown which direction it's going to go.
Do you mean just letting it setting your stop loss, you know, initially not adjusting it midway, right? That's not what you mean.
Sometimes I will adjust. Let me tell you what. Fuck it. We're gonna pull up a chart. Give me 1 second, and we'll just jump right into charts. Okay. So this is exactly where we left charts off last week. I have not touched it. Well, actually, the only thing I did is I added this 4-hour long call in, but I haven't moved anything, haven't done anything else. Remember going back, we hit this 4-hour long, we hit this 1 hour long, we hit another 1 hour long, and then there was a call up in here that never triggered, but we called this here on stream, saying we hit resistance. We're on resistance of the downtrend. We're on resistance of the EMA. We were nearing resistance here at neutral on the RSI, and we also had a resistance line on the RSI. So we called that one. The next week, we were right in here. We said, hey, if we drop, look to re-enter in this zone. So I'm going to get this out of here just to clean charts up a touch. So what we left off with is I said, we did tap into this zone from all the way back here that I thought at some point we would revisit, right? And we tapped into it. And remember, right here is where I said we could open up. Not financial advice. Do your own research, but we talked about opening along when we were right here. Right here where my cursor is. So I should just move this over. So right there is where we opened our call at, right? And what we said is set the stop loss below the last low, right? Well, once price action went in our direction of our trade, and we found, if you see, it broke through and then found support on the RSI, right? We broke above this downtrend. We broke above neutral. We found support. Here's our long-term downtrend. We broke above the downtrend. We retest, found support. We broke above the RSI or the moving average, found support. So right here, I moved my stop loss to 0. After we hit this bottom and started moving up, and in fact, you could even move your stop loss if you wanted up to, well, that didn't work like that. You can move your stop loss up to right here below the last low. So if you get stopped out at that point now, you at least got a 3% gain, right? So that's what I mean. If I see the trades going in my way sometimes, let's look at a short-term trend line. So bottom, we have a bottom right here, right? So there's our short-term trend line. So where would I set my stop loss? Right here, just below this line, because if we break this and continue lower, then we may be reversing direction. But as long as we're making what? Higher high, we got a high, higher high. We got our low, higher low. As long as we still hold a higher low, we're still moving in bullish direction to, one, hit or take profit of this long call and enter the 4-hour short, right? So again, just to kind of recap that real quick, I was talking about we had our stop loss down here below the last low. Once we found support, broke downtrend, found support, broke the RSI downtrend, found support, broke the neutral line, finding support, broke the EMA, finding support. I moved my stop loss to break even instead of having that, what was it, 4%? Yeah, about a 4% loss in breathing room. Moved it to 0. Now that we're up here, I'll move it to here, to 1853. Actually, I'll probably make it 1849 because, 50 is a round number and they like to tap that shit. So make it 1849. And if that long were to get stopped out, at least you were still making 3.5%. You know what I mean? Slow, like JT just said, slow and steady. You don't got to make big moves. This is literally, you're looking at a 4% loss, but instead it went our way. We moved it to break even. Now we move it up to where we're getting at least 3%, but it looks like we are on our way to potentially fill all the way up here at that 17% of this long that we made and fill this 4-hour short. Does that make sense? Anybody got questions? I know this is a little more in-depth trading than just looking at Thor, but fuck it, we'll just get started and then we'll kind of reel back a little bit and get into the Thor calls and what we're looking at.
Real quick. So what you want to, I just want to make sure I understand. You want to make sure that it's not going past the previous low. Is that what you said? Sorry.
Yep. Let's go look at our trusty chart. Whoa, what the fuck just happened? Where'd it go? There you go. Remember this chart here? We've gone over this several times, right? What do we want to see? Once we get to here, what we can move our stop loss up to here, right? Once we get up to here and we establish a new higher low, okay, and we start moving, now we can ladder our stop loss up to here. So what happens every time if we hit a higher low and start to move, if we were to move our stop loss up just below each low, each time it moves, where would we have got stopped out at? Right here. That looks like a pretty damn good point to take profit. Once you have your first signal, you've now broken your low and you're about to make your second signal. Right? Where's that also at? Once you break this low, what did that break? Our downtrend. Right? So if you give it a little room to breathe so it doesn't, come up just a little bit and then go a little lower. But once you see it's moving in your direction, you can move it up. Because if it breaks this to form a lower low, we may be going the other direction. So move it to break even. Let it breathe. Once it breathes for a little bit, ladder. That's what you'll hear people say, a ladder stop loss, or a laddering TP.
Haven't heard that expression, but that's
Yeah, or
informative.
trailing, laddering take profits, or your trailing stop loss. So what it'll basically be saying is your stop loss is trailing behind price action to only allow it to come down so much. So you're making sure you're adding a little bit more profit to your stop loss. You're trailing behind price. You know what I mean? So once price moves, you trail your stop loss up. Price moves, you trail it up. So, and there's even programs or quote unquote bots, or a lot of exchanges, you can set a trailing stop loss that says, okay, once we hit, say, this price, $21, don't let it fall more than 2%. So if it goes 1%, it doesn't care. It lets it keep going. But every time it goes up, it's never going to let it go more than 2% from the last high without then closing your position. It's a way to kind of follow along and continue on the higher highs, but once it makes the signal, another thing, this is getting more into high level shit, but to understand the trailing stop loss too, for instance, what we could do is we're saying right here at the 4-hour short is our take profit. Well, instead of maybe take profit right here, when it hits here, we add a stop loss that's barely below it. Yeah, chances are it's going to drop down and stop it out, right? But what if it decides to pump the fucking Valhalla? You know what I mean? Like, for instance, like right here. Yeah, that's probably not a good one to look at. Right here. This call here on the 4-hour. So when it got to take profit right here, you could have potentially set your stop loss for 2507. And maybe it just kept going up for you and kept going up for you and kept going up for you. And then once you see here, then maybe you get stopped out back here. You get stopped out at the take profit. What if it had just kept going all the way up to here to resistance? Does that make sense? I'm not trying to confuse you guys or get into like too much shit we haven't talked about, but
so you're saying that when when it's trailing, it's like a way to maneuver into a different signal to like I guess like
basically what a trailing stop loss will do is it's constantly adjusting your stop loss. it'll automatically basically, yeah, it is getting a little overwhelming for people on it. Basically, a trailing stop loss is following behind, saying, well, whatever the all-time high is, don't let it fall more than whatever percent you set it at.
Okay.
Yeah. But so yeah, so what I say again, you can ladder up your stop loss like this call right here. You know, once we took the call, once we found support, I moved my stop loss to 0. Once we make a new higher low, if we make a higher low here, I'll move my stop loss up to below here. You know, and just kind of keep moving up. Again, one of the reasons we were able to make this call is we had this Thor 4-hour short and we have this daily short. And it's kind of funny now we have a 4-hour long call. Where did I show that price action may drop back into? Where, you know, I said we may come retest the top of this zone, right? Look at where we're caught. We have a 4-hour long call now. Damn near perfect on where I said we may retest. So, or did we leave that zone already? And are we going to maybe hit here and drop back down? Not sure, but this is what we're looking at for Thor. So, let me actually. Oh, we lost our long. Okay. Oh no, I'm sorry. This is Solana, not Bitcoin. Yeah, my bad. Got confused there a second. Yeah, we have this 4-hour long, we have a 4-hour short, we have a daily short. So right now, in my mind, if you are not in a trade, there's not really much of a trade to make. Actually, if you were in the 1-hour short, that let me go ahead and pull this up. You can see we have a 1-hour short from Thor that is active right now. So that would be the call to take, but make sure you're looking to take profits because in my mind, we are shorting, but when are we shorting? In my mind, we are shorting in an uptrend, right? So this could be the beginning of an uptrend. We may have broken our downtrend. We're above neutral on the RSI. We've broken our downtrend on the RSI. Looks like we've made a higher low and now going for a higher high, right? So to me, it looks like we are in an uptrend. So what Thor is saying is if we pump to this price, $21, there's a high probability we are going to break down and retest to 1961. Now, we could continue to pump from there and then head up toward this daily. This doesn't mean this is where the market is going to reverse and it's going to break down and we're now in a downtrend. Thor looks at math and probability. And what Thor sees is if once we hit $21, we're probably going to drop down to 1960 before we either drop down further or we continue back up and see this $23 range. But if we hit $21, it's likely we drop down to 1960. So that's why that's my take profit zone for the call we made last week, which will close this call at 17%. So congrats. Like I said, not financial advice, do your own research, but if you took this long call right here as we talked about it, marked it here on the chart last week, congratulations to you. but we are looking at reaching this 4-hour short or coming down to the 4-hour long. So what was the take profit zone? 1909 was the profit zone for this 1 hour, which would put us down to right here, bringing us back to what? Touch these highs right here, right? We ladder up. So retest this zone and test the EMA again, right? So that would bring us down here. But that's where I would take profit because, and why am I saying that? Because at this point, right here, where Thor is calling to take profit on the 1 hour, you have 9% up to a short, and you've got 7% down to a long. That's damn near in the middle, right? Like when you're just sitting in the middle and you're going to be about where the EMAs may come together, what Thor is saying is in this range. It's kind of 50-50. Or, okay, let me rephrase that. My interpretation of Thor having a 4-hour short and a 4-hour long and a 1-hour call that says, hey, start here and take profit right here. It's saying from this point, anywhere in here could be noise, and kind of be prepared till we do get to here to take the short, or we do break down to take the long. But I don't really see anything that would suggest we are going to pump to the 4-hour or we are going to break down to the 4-hour long, if that makes sense with what Thor is saying. Now, in our own TA that we set up last week, we are kind of seeing we made the break of downtrend. We made the break of downtrend in the RSI. It looks like we're finding support on neutral. It looks like we found support on the EMA. It looks like we had the break and the retest, basically finding support on the downtrend. So as long as we make what? Another higher low, as long as we don't drop below our last low, we look like we could then continue to higher highs. Are we going to go right into this right now? Absolutely possible. Are we going to break down like that 1-hour call back to 1909 and then go up? Absolutely possible. The point is being prepared for either direction, managing your risk and making sure you're on the right side of probability. So being in the middle zone, probability is kind of 50-50. It's kind of, in my opinion, hard to find yourself on the right side, right? I want something that has 70 to 80%, basically win ratio, which Thor calls are usually in that range, especially for the 4-hour. I want to wait until I have a call that's giving me more of a 70-30 win-loss besides a 50-50. But if you got in this long, congrats. Like I said, you are currently up 11%. And again, that was not a Thor call, so that's why not financial advice. Do your own research. If you took it, you took it. But I was very clear that that was not a Thor call. This was just something from our own TA. Anybody have questions on? Let's look at like basics right now for a second. Anybody have questions on the Thor calls that we're looking at and where price is and maybe what you should be thinking about doing or anything else? I know we kind of got a little off task with trailing stop losses and all that bullshit. Looking at the basics in this chart right now, anybody got any questions?
Not necessarily, but I guess, as you mentioned, staying prepared for either direction, which is something I'm definitely going to be doing because, uh, this it's a nice play.
Right. So how you would prepare is you have capital. You either have capital waiting to open a short, or you have Solana that you're going to sell a portion of your Solana here with the plan of buying it back for 6% cheaper, right? Either making a 6% gain on a contract or selling some of your Solana and buying your Solana back for 6% cheaper. Or you have some of your capital ready to buy in this 4 hour long. And then if you take profits at around 5%, then wait to reload again. So if you're already holding a bag of Solana, this is a way for you to potentially take a portion of it and then buy it back for 6% cheaper, or buy 6% more Solana than you just had before that trade. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I mean, right now, price action is hitting. We've broken the downtrends, but we're hitting resistance as far as when you look right here, right? We have this was support, this was support, this was support, this was support. We dropped through it. It became, sorry, let me go a little higher. You see all the price action that this was support and we rejected it. Support, 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 support. Then when we fell through it, it became resistance, 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 resistance. We're testing that zone again right now. So this could be short-term resistance. And Thor has a 1 hour, a short-term, short call to go down to 1909, I believe was TP1, which again would put us right in range with the moving average, would be making a new higher low, continuing on trend. So like now's not a time I would look to go, oh, I'm just going to go long because of this call hasn't filled yet and we could hit this 4 hour. I wouldn't look to go long here personally. The risk to reward is too big. As far as there's too much risk as to what you're looking to reward. Your risk going below last low, you're looking at 8%. Going to reward, you're looking at 4%. That is a losing call to me. That is not a call I want to take. I don't want to go long here and hopefully gain this 4% when Thor is saying take a short-term short. And even then, maybe it's not a short-term short. Maybe it keeps going because anything can happen. You're looking at then getting stopped out at 8%, where if you wait, if you're in this 1 hour short, great. But if it comes down here to that 1909 and makes that higher low, you're now getting in on the retest, right? So you could potentially enter here at that 1909 or wherever we see the next low. You're now looking at 3% risk setting stop loss below last low and a 10% gain up to the short. So again, this is just our own TA if you wanted to kind of make your own play besides waiting for these 4 hour calls. But right now is not the time that I would go long. If anything, it's the time to take that 1 hour short and look to take profits. Or it's the time to wait until we have a retest and we see that we have a higher low, get in on the higher low and go up. You don't want to be getting on at a point that was support, but is now resistance. Are we going to see resistance? You don't want to be going long on resistance. So that's kind of how I would play it right now. Is we have the 1 hour short, which I don't have labeled on here. I only labeled the daily and the 4 hour. But I showed you Thor was calling that 1 hour short. It is active, and it is saying we're going to drop down here to somewhere around 1909. Which again, that would put us where's that range? Support, resistance. Will it now become support? Right? We often see level by level. So if you look here, where was this level? Boom, 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 boom. But now it became the ceiling. Now we want it to become the floor again. Think about it like levels in a building, right? When you drop in a level in the building, you bounce on the floor. Now, do you bounce off the ceiling or do you break through it? You can see you just bouncing off the floor and the ceiling, bouncing off the floor and the ceiling. Now you break down. You bounce off the ceiling until you finally break through, but you usually don't just break through the next ceiling. You're probably going to bounce off the floor again, at least once or twice before you break through the ceiling. Where's the next one?
I had a quick question. Sorry to interrupt about the shorting.
I have black screen and I don't hear anything. Is it just me?
I think Mode rugged.
Yeah, I can hear you guys.
Yeah, he definitely rugged again.
Oh, damn.
Okay.
It was getting
That's
juicy.
people's silence. Everybody's like,
Okay.
I thought I disconnected.
Same.
Okay, so while we wait for Mode to get back on, I know some people were saying, and not just a few, but throughout this series, some people don't understand, and it might feel a little bit overwhelming. So my advice to you, all of these are recorded. We've already have a bunch of them on our YouTube. Go and find those, look through those, and just do a recap, right? And if you have any specific questions on any specific parts, you have those time frames. So you can go back and get that clip and say, hey, this part where Mode was talking about, on such and such date at 124 to 130, I didn't get that. And then we can come back and explain that to you. It's a great way to use that tool and revise. If you feel overwhelmed, if you feel like you're not really getting it, that's okay, because it's just like anything that you're learning new, that you need to take the time to go over it and really internalize it. Sometimes you need to actually see it in action and use it yourself, because sometimes you're a more visual learner or a hands-on approach learner. So find a way to use these tools to your advantage. Nobody in the server, I mean, the helpful people in the server are going to help you, right? That's what we're here for. We want everybody to be successful. The more successful you are in your personal trading, the more successful we're going to be as a project and growing as a company. So that's what we want. Like, our goal is for you to be successful. We want to see you getting those gains. We want to see you thriving and growing as a trader. Does that make sense to everybody?
Hell yeah, appreciate that, SWAT.
Yes,
Yeah,
thank you.
appreciate it.
Sorry, Discord's getting as bad as Twitter with fucking rugging me. It's getting a little ridiculous. But no, guys, seriously, there is no stupid questions. And I don't mind going over the same exact thing 500 times. That's literally what trading is. Somebody's hot. NFT,
Render.
NFTR, NFT nerd. Got it. You're hot, Mike.
I had a
Yeah,
quick
that's what
question.
trading is going over the same thing again and again and finding things in the chart and similarities. I don't mind going over literally the exact same thing over and over and over if it helps you guys understand. There is no stupid questions. I don't want to make this overwhelming. I just try to keep it going from week to week what we've talked about. You know what I mean? And show you why I think Thor does what it does and pair the years of TA that I've developed along with what Thor is calling. So yeah, please, any questions. There is no stupid questions. I don't mind going over the same things. And thank you, Swap, for setting up that forum. So, like he was saying, from week to week, you can go back and say, well, you said this or that, or we were looking at that, this or that, and clarify again. And also, see from week to week the write up on where we let off and then how it played out the following week, right? But no stupid questions. This is conversation for you guys to learn. This isn't like I'm up here as a fucking instructor teaching you guys. No, this fucking frogs hanging out learning how to use Thor and make some fucking money.
Mode, I have a stupid question.
I just said there are no stupid questions.
I know. I'm just trying to be funny. So for someone who's like a lot more new at this than others in here, like I'm looking at the chart you have up the screen, and I don't understand like most of the lines on there. Like where can I go to learn more about it, or like can you expand on it a little bit? Because I've been sitting here like listening, and I'm kind of lost.
So the first thing that I would suggest is if you go back in that Trader Tuesday review channel we have, you'll see I have what does long mean? What does short mean? What is a stop loss? What do you use a stop loss for? We go through all those definitions, and then I also have that chart in there, that drawing that is this, where we learn how to identify trends, and we learn to identify trends by establishing what is considered a higher low, what is a higher high, what is a lower high, and what is a lower low, and how do we use those and establish a trend line to say, okay, this is an upward momentum and we're getting higher lows, higher high, higher low, higher high. And until we see, oh, price didn't make the higher high, maybe we can expect now the lower low and a lower high. Now we know we're probably starting in a downtrend, right? So how do we know we're breaking that downtrend? When we start to now not get lower, but now get higher. Now, if we get higher and we now set a higher high, we can probably look for a higher low. And this is literally, this point right here is where we are in the chart right now. This point right here. If I go back to Solana, well, this is Solana too. If I go back to the chart we were looking at, that's kind of the point we're looking at, right? It looks like we made our higher low, and now we got our higher high. If we get our higher low here, we kind of know we're in an uptrend. But again, I have all these things kind of written, the explanations and what it means. What is the RSI? Basically, the RSI is a FOMO meter. And this line tells you where FOMO is. Are people down here paper handing, or are people up here buying the top, right? We kind of think of it as a car. If this is neutral, yeah, you want to be moving. You want to be in this upward momentum. But you don't want to red line and blow the engine up to where then it's got to what? Then cool down. And you can see price does that. It kind of stays below neutral, cools down until it looks like, okay, it's getting here to the bottom. And now we got some steam to move again. But all these things are written with different definitions, different charts, and everything else in the Tuesday Trader Review. And again, you can sit here and ask me questions every time. What is that line? How did you make it? What is that line? How did you make it? You know, like this line here, we just established off of the highs, right? I mean, really, that would be more so like this. But we have resistance and resistance. So we made that line right here. And then we watch price reject from it and reject from it and reject from it. So since price is rejected every time, right, we have a lower low, lower high, lower low. That actually did almost make a higher high, but not quite. Lower low, lower high, lower low. But now we broke our downtrend. That line that has been resistance, and we have it has kind of been the ceiling. We've broken through. Now are we going to find support and make this kind of new line that I drew completely arbitrarily? Is it going to be sitting like this? And is price action maybe going to be a little more? Well, I would think it would probably end up being something potentially more. Oh, fuck you. Go back. Something like that. And again, once we don't get the new high, right? We don't go as high. We can expect to maybe break down in that new low. That's the pattern. The market makers repeat the patterns.
I had a quick question on shorting. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead, bro.
So, so I was looking like at the Thor call right now for Sol, and it's it's saying to short, right? The call saying. So let's just say you do like a mock call, and let's say I wanted to integrate. Like I'm a new user, right? Obviously, everybody knows how to long, right? It's a little bit easier to understand than a short. So let's say you go in and you want to do a play, and you put the RM for the play currently happening right now. We're just mocking it, right? So we're just doing the current play right now for the short on Sol, and you're doing it with an RM of let's say $100. How would you like go ahead and set that up for somebody that's like, let's say somebody's starting to dabble into starting to short, but wants to get a little bit more comfortable. Let's say the risk management is 100. How would you start from there?
So this is what you're talking about. We just went into this 1 hour Solana. Let me go back, slow down a second. So if you go into Solana inside Thor and into 1 hour, you'll see there's an active call. So we're going back to basics here. Very, very basic. Solana, 1 hour, there's an active short. It told you to get in at $20.85 or $19.95, right? We are currently in this range still. We're at $20.03. So we are in the entry zone of this short. Our first take profit is 1909. Our second take profit, 1882. Now, you're saying risk management, you're willing to lose up to $100 in this trade. This is, again, potential. So you'll put 100 in, calculate. So what this is telling you is if you want a risk to reward of 1-to-1, right? So basically, you're willing to lose as much as you're willing to make, but Thor is usually around 60 to 70% right. So it's not just a coin flip, because Thor is usually on the right side of probability. Me personally, I like to have stronger risk management, not as great a tolerance. I want to, if I'm willing to lose something, I want to at least make double, usually. So I often look at this here, the 1-to-2. Now, again, you can look at these however you want, especially in the longer time frame that are usually higher probability of hitting. I like to look at this. So what this is telling you is you are going to sell 231 SOL at $19.95 and set your stop loss at $20.38. Or you open a contract, you open a short for 231 SOL at $19.95. And you set your stop loss here. Does that make sense? Now, 100 is a pretty big number to be willing to risk in a trade. Like, you've got a pretty substantial trading account if you're willing to risk $100 per trade. I would say even let's look at more like 20, which would probably be more reasonable. All right, you're going to buy 46 SOL at $19.95, or actually you can get it right now at $20.04, so even better, right? If you're buying higher to go short, even better. And you set your stop loss at $20.38. So
Okay,
what
yeah,
this you got it?
No, I'm sorry. Keep going.
I was going to say, so basically what you're doing is you're only, meaning you're basically you stand to make 2 times what you're willing to lose once. So if you hit the take profits, you stand to potentially make 40, where you're only risking 20. 1 risk, 20, your reward would be 2. So does that help understand?
Yeah. That definitely helps. I really appreciate it. So I guess my next question is just for shits and giggles. How would you put this, like, let's say if you were to do this on a DEX, like, because the deck, like, what is it still going to say, like, stop loss on there? Because I was using drift, so I was just kind of trying to understand.
So you would basically monitor that yourself on something like Drift. I believe they are starting to bring contracts and shorts to where you can, but let's just say, I honestly haven't used the Drift protocol to know how to set up the stop loss personally. I've
Okay,
used
so
Drift
is
to
there one?
trade, so I've bought Solana. So what you could do right now is you could, if you have a bag of Solana, sell some of your bag of Solana and then buy Solana back at 1909. Or I think the next profit was 1882, was it? So you're potentially buying your Solana back for 4 to 6% cheaper. So you either have 4 to 6% of that USD extra, or you have an extra 4 to 6% Solana. So now you see how powerful the automated protocol is too, because every one of those signals you see, Thor is taking and doing this for. Even though it may be in a long call and taking profit, it's still taking the little short calls and taking profits, taking the little long calls and taking profits, while also performing the bigger trades as well.
Hey Mo,
Yo.
so back on the screen with the risk management screen,
Give me 1 second. I'll pull it right back up.
Thank you, Mode, by the way. I really appreciate it.
For sure. Like, this is what we're here for. Again, there are no stupid questions. This isn't me like giving a lecture on this is how you do shit. This is I'm just a bozo that draws lines on a chart and uses Thor. So I'm here to just talk with the Frog fam, and yeah, hopefully you guys learn some shit.
No doubt. Yeah.
Okay, so back on the risk management tool you asked, right?
Yeah. So to make so when you calculate, let's say you only want to wager $20 as a loss. Now at the could you click calc for a second?
So $20 for the loss.
Yep. Now where the 1 to 2 ratio risk reward, is that saying basically you have to at the minimum sell 46.24? So like what if like let's just say if you only had 30.83 sold, does that mean you're automatically gonna get that or aim for that 1 to 1.5 instead of the 1 to 2 ratio, even if you don't have 46 sold?
No,
Like
no. So yes, let me explain. So if you wanted to do a 1 to 2 ratio and you only had 30 sold, right? You could literally just put 30 sold in here at this price with stop loss at this price, and your percentage is the same. This number will change a little bit, but your percentage will be the same, right? If you look at the stop loss adjustment, this one's a 1 to 1 because the stop loss is willing to go all the way up to 2082. You're willing to lose a lot more in this trade than you are to lose in this trade, right? So if you don't have 30, if you don't have 46 sold, you could sell your 30 sold at this price, stop loss at this price, and this is going to turn into like 16 or something. Like, let's just see if we put 16. Okay. 15. So there's your 14. That should give you your 32 sold. There you go. So there's your risk to reward, but so it's the same percentage. You're looking at the losing and gaining the same as far as percent, but you're not losing as much because you're not putting up as much to start. Does that help explain?
Yeah, it does. Because the way I perceived it, like for that 1 hour short, for instance, I just had opened up a short using USDT. I didn't necessarily, you know, sell any on the
Okay.
short.
So what, you were able to buy 32? Is that what you were saying?
No, well,
Like basically you open up 32 in your short.
well, I had opened it up not with USDT, not
Right.
I
So you open a
yeah,
contract, yes.
yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
So yeah, so how many sold did you essentially how many sold is your contract for?
Um, let's see. Um, let's see. So I did 50%. Like I was just testing it out with 100, and used 50% of that, so like 50 on that one short, on that 1 hour short.
So 50 USDT at 20, so you got 2 point some Solana, right? In that contract.
Yeah,
Basically, yeah. So you're probably looking at I mean you're looking at minimal only a couple dollar loss with this risk to reward. You're essentially looking at losing $1, right? So if you
Mm-hmm.
bought 2.31 SOL, which is about $50 worth at this price, or somewhere damn close, at your stop loss here, you're basically so that's not using a stop loss is that's how you would essentially be risking, $50 on a $50 contract, and that would only be like
Yeah.
if SOL went to zero. Um,
I have a
Anybody else have
question.
question? Yeah. Okay,
Yeah,
go for it.
yeah. So for a beginner, is this would you say this is worse to trade in this areas, 2, 3 SOL, or should is it then better to accumulate or only SOL, right? So
So what I would do is I would only look at the 4 hour
mm,
and the daily calls. But yeah, there's nothing wrong with only starting with a count of 50 or $60 or $100 and only trading, $20 at a time or something. There's nothing wrong with that
mm,
because you want to stay on these calls though, because if you look at the rewards, you're looking at 5%, 6%, 11% at your TP1s, where we don't have any 15-minute calls. Do we have any? Like, see, here's a 15-minute call on Arbitrum. You're looking at 1%, right? So maybe you don't want to be just trying to get 1% with one SOL. You know what I mean? But
yeah, yeah.
you absolutely can be trying to make 5, 6, 11% with just 2, 3 Solana. Yeah, because if you think about it, if you start with $50 and you hit this call, you now have $55.
Mm,
So if your first trade, let's say you had $50 and you started trading with 10 of it. Well, now you have 55 and you can potentially start trading each time with $11 instead of just 10.
mm,
And that's how very small wins add up and compound, right? Because now that 11 will soon become 15 per trade. Example.
mm,
It's a marathon.
yeah.
Exactly. Slow and steady. You manage it. Exactly. In the marathon, what's the thing you don't want to do? Of course, you're going to slow down. Of course, you're going to lose pace sometimes. Of course, you're going to be wrong and become a step behind here and there. But you don't want to eat shit and fall on your face, right? That's the stop loss. You don't. You just want to make sure that you don't fucking eat shit and ruin yourself for the long-term marathon. Very small losses, and even with small gains, those small gains can compound. by especially finding yourself on the right side of probability. You can, flip a coin and with good risk management, eventually be slightly profitable. But when you have Thor, that it's no longer a coin flip, but you're right, 60, 70% plus of the time, managing your risk for very small losses and taking those small wins, even though those wins seem small, you're like, oh wait, you mean I'm only going to make $1 on this 1 hour short, $2 on this 1 hour short? Yeah, but it's $2 with only 50, right? And you get how many calls are available that you could be doing this with, right? Look how many calls are available that you could be potentially just making $1 or $2 with, and then that's how you add them up and become profitable. But yes, stick to the 4 hours and the dailies. Don't really be looking at the 15-minute and the 1 hour that are more volatile and trying to just pick apart the little pieces. Now, we do see that 1 hour call is very close to 5%, right? So that's not a bad one to take because it's 5%.
Yeah,
It's not like 1 to 2%.
yesterday, when I had taken that, I was at like 11%, and I was like, or no, I was like at 9% or something, and I was like, let me just wait for the 10, and of course it, went back up. But
That is something that everyone does as a trader, and it starts with human emotion. Is you're like, oh, I'm at 4.8%. I'm just going to wait for 5. Well, fuck.
yeah,
Now it's at 3.8. Who cares
now
if it's 4.8 or 5? Or I'm at four. I'm at $9.87 profit. Well, when it hits 10, I'll take the profit instead. Take the profit when you need to take it. Do you really give a fuck about the 13 cents at the end of the day, or do you
yeah,
just want to be
exactly.
profitable, close that trade, and then start at the next one that gives you a big probability?
Yeah, it definitely taught me that one with it being my first trade yesterday, it definitely taught me like just take your profits
Yep.
and
And
just
here's the
like
thing. I'm letting you know now, you'll probably do it again and have to learn that lesson again because you are a human and this is human emotion. So you'll probably have to learn that lesson more than once. And that's okay. You just need to recognize it and then not make it as often and know your next move. When people say
yeah,
don't trade emotionally, traders still get, we still look at the chart and see green and, oh, yeah, it's moving and get excited. But that doesn't mean we make the action of FOMOing it, right? Like,
mhm.
you're still going to have the human emotion, but you can't allow that emotion to influence your decision and action in the trade. Sile may be like robot emotion. He may be like has zero emotion in his trading. I'm not sure. He may be one of those few people because he's the GOAT. And his patience for a trade, he will sometimes have these long calls open for months at a time on different assets. He doesn't care if it takes several months because he made 11%, 14% at the end. Why the fuck does he care? But most
Yeah,
humans are like, oh no, I don't want to wait that long. Oh man, I could be putting that into this one, or I could be, but it's you're gonna have those human emotions. But the key is to do exactly what you just did. You recognized, well, that was silly. I did something based off of feeling, not off of math. And you recognize those things and you're less likely to repeat them.
Yeah, no doubt. Because I mean, as I mentioned before, like the first broadcast I joined, greed is what got me wrecked last bull run, last year, year before. Well, more so last greed, human emotion. Play your trade your plan. Style said it best.
Yep. Yep. That's it. Plan your trade your plan. And that's exactly why, even though last week we didn't have this 4 hour call, right? We had this 4 hour short and we had this daily short. Made a plan because if you remember, this is getting into higher level shit too. We haven't even talked about this, so I'm not going to go far into it. But we set a fib on this retest. And I said right here in the golden zone is where I like to buy. And then set my stop loss below last low. And you can see price was actually a little bit above it when we recognized it. And I did get in on this, but I want you to notice on these fibs where this 4 hour short is and where it lines up on a fib. It literally lines up on this fib right here, 2104. Thor is calling you to get in between 2105 and 2103. The Fibonacci puts you at 2104. Fucking amazing. Where does the fib top out? The last fib, right here at 23.33. Where is that? Right where Thor is calling for a potential blow off top, maybe, because it's saying a daily short.
Hey,
These things don't
real
line up by accident.
would you mind just doing a recap real quick on the fib and its use case?
So this is getting into really high level shit. So I don't want to confuse people. I will go over it, but I don't feel like you got to understand this shit to be a profitable trader. You literally need to know how to look at Thor calls, how to manage your risk and reward to be a profitable trader. But what I would do is if price action, like let's say right here, let's say we've been in this uptrend, right? And right here, I now have what looks to be a lower high, right? I could set my fib and say, well, we retrace to this point and up to this point. That's how I would line up my fibs, right? And move over. Why can't I move you over? Faster. I don't know why I can't move that over here. So Fibonacci, the Fibonacci equations are basically in everything structured in life, from seashells to fucking how plants grow, how human anatomy is, everything in life and the universe kind of operates in the scale of Fibonacci, right? So what this is saying is if we retraced from here to here, our potential retrace point would be right here. And our next, where I usually set my take profits if I get in on something like this, I set take put it here where my kind of retest is. bring it down here to the low, and that'll give me an idea of where my potential levels might be. And without even drawing the fibs, look at where they hit. Without even having a Fibonacci tool set, but just kind of understanding how levels of retest work. So me personally, if I got in here, I usually set take profit 1, then move stop loss to 0, take profit 2. So if we look at that again on a real chart, and now we have more price action and data to go with than we did when I set up that first fib, right? So the first time I set it up, I was looking at the more short term right here. Oh, wrong tool. So look at that as the top. That is the bottom. Looking to retest here at the gold zone, and you can see price action did. It kind of rejected. It did go a little bit lower, but it pretty much rejected off of that gold zone. And then look where did this resistance became what? Support, support, support. Right on the white line there. Hit take profit 1. Now to me it looks like we're going to take profit 2. In my opinion, what I would look at take profit 2, and it's exactly on the fucking Thor short call. So that told me that was good. Now, if we want to look long term, because we only have this data here, and that's why I made a call only to here, right? Let me get rid of this fib, and let's reset it now with some of the, honestly, I think this may have been the top right here, and it didn't get all the way down to the gold zone. We found support early, which, what's that mean? You just didn't make the entry on this trade, or you didn't quite get it the same, and if you didn't, you either increase your risk to reward, or you just keep a very tight stop loss in case you're wrong. But let's see where the fibs line up on this price action. So there would be my take profit 1 here at the blue line, which is just below the 4-hour. Pretty damn close. And here's our, that would be my take profit 2, which is right below the daily. To me, it just looks like looking a little more long term. We just didn't quite reach down that far. We got some pretty strong candles, and looking at it, we came within 2%, 2.4%. So that's a pretty close call. You know what I mean? But the way we called it on stream and the way I wrote it up in the Tuesday Trader Review, and if you were here last week, remember I set this fib, and that's why I said, you know what? I would take entry here, set stop loss below last low. You're looking at a 3% loss, 17% gain. And if you took that trade with me last week, you are currently up almost 12%. At one point, you were up 13% plus. So Thor right now is calling for the 1-hour short, though, which to me does not violate this trade at all. It's calling from here at 12 point. Stop jumping. Sometimes my mouse jumps when I'm on stream. Down to what was it? 1909. Right? So that could be right here. And where does that put it? Right on top of what was support before. And then we could pump right up into this. So doesn't that look like the pattern? You know, higher highs, higher lows. As long as we hold, make a higher low here, we could be looking for the higher high next. I know the fibs is getting in depth, so I don't want to like really get into it. But since you asked, and people are here each stream, and since we did talk about it last week, there we go. But this is how I see how that 1 hour short could easily play out. Make that 5% retrace, close to 5% profit for you in that short. And if you then take your profit on your short, right? What would be the signals that we're either going to break down here to the 4 hour long, or the signals that we're going to pump up to the 4 hour short? The signals, in my opinion, will be, is the RSI holding above neutral, right? So if we come back down to here to the 1909 area like we talked about, 1910, what would we potentially see from the RSI? We'd probably see it come down, retest on neutral, and move back up. Something like that. So if we find support on the RSI, we find support on our trend line, or at least hold the higher low. And then we did start talking about the EMAs a little bit, right? We are printing above the short term. And if we get the short term to break the long term or get close, those are all signals we could go up. What are signals we're going to keep going down? Signals we're going to keep going down would be price action comes down and doesn't hold and falls through the trend, right? Something like that. The EMA comes down, tries to find support, but can't, and goes below neutral. The candles come down and try to start printing above the white line, but can't, because you could see how the white line could potentially something like that. So are the candles going to come down and then can't get back above it and fall? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So you could potentially, in my opinion, and I want to show this too. It's kind of funny now that I'm thinking about it. I remember I have a long open at 1810. And let me show you how I established 1810. Oh, that was, yeah, it would have been 1910. I'm sorry. Yeah, I had 1810 right here open for a long because I thought that big candle might get revisited. For some reason, I was like, oh, it's saying, but it's saying 1910. But look, that's on one of the fibs.
Doesn't Thor have a long at 18?
It has a long, yes, right here. It just printed this, by the way. Right here at, I think it's 1801 to 1785, somewhere in there. 1785, 1801. Let me look. 1802, 1783. So yes. But I opened that up because I looked at this and thought we may revisit this zone before we pumped up to here. But I don't know.
So what you're saying is that you're looking at the same lens as Thor.
But Thor calls it so much earlier. It's so fucking crazy. Like, okay, I couldn't set this up until, well, actually, this one I think I did call a little earlier than Thor somehow. But many times, like this 4 hour short, this 4 hour short was called before I ever had this candle to set this fib or had this point to set this fib, right? But Thor was already calling it for a short. Thor takes all the previous price data and everything we talk about it and remembers, where my fucking squirrel brain would forget what we talked about last week if I didn't type it all up. You know what I'm saying? Thor don't forget shit, and it's amazing the way it makes a lot of its calls.
Yeah, at first, like I thought that the suggested calls that Thor makes, I thought that even though it'll throw up like 1 to 2 to 3 even, that they had to be um I guess hit chronologically, but it's actually not that way at all. It's
Not at all.
whichever comes first with the market's price action, and I didn't
Yeah. So
understand that at first
for
until
for for instance, well, like, and here's why. I'll show you why on that arbitrary chart. So come back here. Here's your, let's say these are your highs and your lows on the daily, right? These are your price action on the daily, right? If we were to zoom in, fuck, I can't zoom in. If we were to think about, okay, what happens on the hourly chart? I wish I could make it wider, but I can't just where it's strong. You're going to get your W, right? Up, retest, up, retest, up. There's your high. And then all of a sudden you get your double top, your lower high, your lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low. And then what happens? You get your low.
I think you're frozen, or the screen is.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear, I believe, but the screen
You just
itself, okay, now it's okay. It might just be mine, I don't know.
okay. Hopefully you guys can see what I'm trying to set up here. Like, is this pattern, right, plays out in here. So this is why you can have a daily call. You can have a call that's a daily. Let's say a daily call says enter here and take profit here, right? Probably somewhere at this point, right? That's why you can have a 4 hour long here, and then you can have a 1 hour short, and then maybe a 4 hour long, and then maybe a 15-minute short. And now after that, boom, it hits the take profit of the daily long. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So that's how Thor, oh fuck, give me that back. That's how Thor takes advantage of every one of these micro moves. Right? So this may be within this daily long, it may be making a long and then making a short and then making a long and then making a short. And then hitting take profit of the daily here. But that's why it says take profit. That's why here it says get in here and take profit. It doesn't say, hey, when we hit here, the market's going the other way. Doesn't say, hey, when we get here, we're going straight to fucking Valhalla. Right? Thor is just saying, now let's look at that on the real chart. Thor has the 1 hour call from here at 20.8 to 1909. Right? But this short doesn't violate our long at all. We can still be in this long call. So if you get in on this, you know, like if you get in on those calls that take longer, that give you those 11%, that 5%, right? It doesn't matter if Thor says, hey, there's a 15-minute short coming. There's no reason to panic. Why are you going to panic about this? Did you panic when this went down here from here to here? No, because everything's looking good to still go up. So are you going to panic? Because it looks like price action could go from here, from this EMA back to this EMA. Why do you care that it went down 4% when you're looking at the big picture, right? You don't care if it went down 4% when you bought it here and you're looking at a 17% gain. Does that make sense? Now you see how they don't have to play out in chronological order at all.
Yeah, it was nice to see that, or even more. It placed that much more conviction, you know, on the just power of Thor, and not. It's just you're not walking blind. Put it that way.
Right. And now if we go to the 1 minute chart, or I'm sorry, not 1 minute, 1 hour, you know, so we break it down because this is a 1 hour call. So we'll look at it on the 1 hour chart. I see resistance, resistance, resistance. I see that as my short-term downtrend. I see that candle completely respecting it. So what I want to see if I'm in the short is I want to see it come down, test this EMA, respect my downtrend, and continue to break down. Come down here, and it's probably going to test on our long-term support. You know, it's probably going to do a couple ups and downs, you know. But then we'll see it go boom, something like this, the break and retest. Now, you see that pattern right there. You see that pattern right there. It's the same thing. It's the same pattern, right? That W right here, this little W, could restart this same pattern just like this. Just like we had the pattern. You know, we got the lower lows, lower highs. Right? So that's the same part as this first part. And then it breaks the red line, breaks this red line, starts to move in the upward direction. So now you see the difference in looking at time frames. That is the true difference in looking at time frames. Are you looking at this little downtrend and then are you saying that's the uptrend? Or are you looking at this is the downtrend and this is the start of an uptrend? If you think you're beginning an uptrend, why are you going to give a fuck about this little dinky down right here, right? But if you're trading on the 1 hour chart and you're focused in to here, you see up, up, up. I'd look at that as there's my potential. It broke, retested. I wanted to get in right here. And where's that fucking Thor call at? Right there on it. On the break, 1995. See, what the fuck, Thor? Where's the break? Right here at 1995. Where's the retest? Right here at 2008. What was that Thor call? Entry zone, 20.8 to 1995. What the fuck? See, Thor even blows my fucking mind all the time the more I look at it. That's fucking crazy.
Like
Now,
Inception.
let's go just for fucking shits and giggles. Let's set a fib on this for just because. So just because we got our entry right here near the gold zone, right? Damn close. It damn near retapped the gold. But right there is where it got in, which is always a good place and where it actually hit on the long-term trend. Now, my first take profit is usually here at the blue line and my second here at the green. It's basically calling for dead in between right here where you see all this price action. But, well, let's put this at 1995 and see where it is. Because it's saying that that's damn close. So it's about as close as I can get it because it's skipping everywhere. But it's damn close. But that's just crazy to me that the break and retest is pretty much right there at the 1995 and the 20.8 because that's that's to me. See, we got what? We got our high. We got a higher low. Now we have a lower high, right? About the same low. Lower high. To me, we're looking at a lower low. And then probably a lower high and a lower low. But if you look at it long term, I think this is our higher high, and this will be a higher low and go up. That's the power of looking at time frames. And this is why I say look at the 4 hour and the daily calls. Look at these calls. Unless you are a comfortable trader that has the time, I wouldn't look at those shorter term ones and try to squeak out those, that one's a pretty good one being 5% actually. A lot of times the 1 hour calls aren't quite that large. A lot of times the 1 hour calls are much more the 2-3%. And again, if you are a comfortable trader, you would also be looking at
calls. Our 15-minute calls also like around 1 to 3%. Typically,
they're degen. Yeah, they're degen. But here's the thing:
you can also leverage those small percentage.
Exactly. If you have something that tells you where to get in and get out, and it's right 60 to 70% of the time, and you have good risk to reward management, if it's only 2% and you do 10x leverage, which I am not suggesting anyone do this. Like, this is beginning. I'm not suggesting you fucking do this. Let me be clear. But if you did use 10x leverage, now you've turned that 15-minute call into a 20%. But that is for very experienced traders. I am not suggesting anyone try to go start leveraging 15-minute calls and shit. Let me be very clear on that. I am suggesting that you look at this 4-hour short, you look at this 4-hour long, you look at this daily, because this is a potential 6%. This is a potential 6%. The dailies are usually a bigger. You look at potential almost 8, and those are just take profit ones. You know. Hopefully, I didn't overdo shit. What's up? What's up?
Hey man, so let me ask you a question. This is just for kind of like future reference. So I'm just trading spot. So I just sold 8 Solana at 2003, and I put in a buy order for the TP at like 1908, I think it was. So hopefully that turns out all right. But
Yep, that's okay.
My question is, like, in the future, like, instead of taking all that, like the USD I got with the 8 Solana and putting that all at TP1, should I spread that out a little bit? Maybe like buy 4 at TP1 and then maybe 4 more at TP2. Like set up the buys that way to get a little more out of it.
That is what we call DCA, dollar cost average, right?
Right.
So let's say it gets down to 1910 and you only buy, 25 or 50% of what you wanted, right? If it gets down to TP2, buy a little more. It gets down to TP3, buy a little more. Now, let's say it gets down to TP1, you buy you buy some back, and let's say now it starts going up, and instead of getting it at 1910, you're now getting it at 1912. You're still in profit.
Right.
Go ahead and buy it. So you'll still be in profit, right? So, but if you save a little to dollar cost average, you can potentially get more out of it. Yes.
Gotcha. Now, bear with me, but so I bought 5 Solana the other day, like when it dropped down to the 18s. I bought a little bit. Then I whitelisted. I bought a reverse. I sold that for 8.5. I just sold that 8 on this trade. And if the trade goes through, right, I guess it'll get me a little over a quarter of a Solana. So that would be a pretty good day.
Very well played, bro. Very well played. That is how you play the fucking game, man. Small wins. A quarter of Solana. You do that to a couple times a week. Now you have one more Solana in your bag. It's slow and steady, and then you can either keep trading with that, or maybe after doing that for a couple weeks, you add another 1 or 2 Solana to your automated trading account. That's the way to win the fucking game. Well done, bro.
Well, also, I mean, like, I think all the Solana I put into it, I bought in the 18, so like I made the profit off of that. At the 2003, I sold it. So that's pretty. I don't know what I did, but I mean, I've been listening a lot to you, man. You've been helping me a lot, so I really appreciate it.
I'm glad to hear that, man. That's exactly what these Trader Tuesdays are for. I don't want it to ever seem like I'm an instructor up here, like saying I know what the fuck to do and whatever else. This is open conversation for us all to learn how to look at Thor, how to use Thor, and then if you want to dive into your own technical analysis or feel better about the calls you're using for Thor, that's what it's all about. So thanks, man. I appreciate hearing that. I'm glad this is helping you. Because that's fucking awesome. That's exactly how you play this game.
Yeah, man. Like I
Those
said, I
little
mean,
wins back up.
this information that and I know it's cool. Like we're all just hanging out. We're all learning, and we're the same mindset. And everybody's at different levels, but like everybody's so willing to learn. And just like you would have to pay a lot of money to get this in other areas, to be honest. So this shit's cool, man.
Appreciate that, dude. That's one of the things that I thought I could add more value to frogs by doing this with you guys, and I love this fucking community. I love these tools. I fucking am so glad to be working with a team of people that are driven and fucking legit. And dude, we all succeed. We all succeed. You know what I mean? That's the fucking plan. So I that's awesome, man. I'm so glad you're getting a lot out of this. Let me see. Did this pull up the Bitcoin chart for you guys, or is it still streaming Sol?
No, it's on BTC.
Okay, you guys are seeing the Bitcoin chart. So here's what we're looking at for the Thordinals, right? And I can dissect this chart a little bit further if we want to, but I'm going to keep this pretty clean for posting purposes and everything else. We had this 4-hour long entry. We hit take profit 1, take profit 2, and take profit 3 on it. Take profit 3, I believe was 7.45%. Yep, right there at 7.45%. So congrats if you got in on this trade. If we draw some fancy dancy lines here, you can see we've been in this uptrend, and it looks like we did what? Broke and retest, right? Notice that what was support, support, resistance, resistance, resistance. Thor is now calling for a resistance point again. So what I potentially see here, we could draw that. How do I make this line? I got 1 point, 2 points, right? As long as I got 2 points, I can make a line. The more times price hits it, the more valid it is. Just like price hit this how many times here, price hit it, makes it a valid trend line, right? Price hit it, price kind of hit it. We're looking price might hit it. We have a short there. What I potentially see here, where's my tool? I think we may come back and retest this zone that we had a lot of price action in. We may even come down and retest that. Break, and then maybe come up so we get the higher low, reach the higher high, come down for a higher low somewhere. Now reach for the higher high, and now come down for the higher low somewhere. Right? Something potentially like that. And that would still give us what in the long term? That would still be a lower high compared to this, right? That would still give us a downtrend overall, right? And this price action may happen way fucking sooner, like I was just drawing it so you could see it where I had the take profit points on the chart. Could easily be something like that, if that makes sense. But that would still be a downtrend because we broke our longer term uptrend could start that longer term downtrend. Thor is not saying that the market is going down from this point. Thor is just saying if we hit the price of 27,900, we're probably going to retest 26,700. So here's our Thorcast for the 1K to 1 BTC challenge.
Hey, I like that Thorcast.
Right? Yeah. It's got to be the Thorcast, man. It just made too much sense. Just like Thordinals. Like, it just made too much sense. But yeah, here's the Thorcast. We've got, this is actually a daily and 4-hour short with the same entry point and the same take profit points, which when I see 2 time frames line up with the same call, that I like that. I'm bullish on that a lot. Right? So yeah, prepare your bags, prepare your BTC. What would I be looking to do? What am I looking to do? I am looking to sell a small portion of my Bitcoin in this range and buy it back somewhere around this 5%. Again, a small portion of my Bitcoin, because price could just keep going up. That's always a potential. Like, all we know, price could go up, it could go down, it could go to the right. All we know is price will never go backwards to the left. That's all I can ever promise you, is the charts won't go left. So you just gotta think and prepare. Knowing how to look at charts or knowing how to look at the RSI can help you say, well, it does look like we're in this range and it does look like we're getting to the FOMO point. That does make sense that we need to cool off. Even if price wants to keep going up, right? It looks like it needs to cool off a little bit before we just go and completely, we have this whole zone right here that we just dropped. Second half, and if market makers haven't captured enough liquidity, they may come back to the bottom and recapture the whole fucking zone again. That's what I'm seeing from Thor right now in that call. That's why these calls make sense to me. That's why I am going to try to take a 5% short. I'm not open a short. Sell a little bit of my Bitcoin, hopefully buy it back 5% cheaper. If I don't and it pumps up, maybe I buy it back 2 to 3% more than I spent on it. Well, shit, okay. But then I'm going to sell it here in the daily and try to get 6-7%. Small losses, bigger wins. Let the time play. It's a game of time and levels. Time and levels. I know that just kind of went in depth. Getting kind of stoned and just went on a rant. Shit, did I freeze? Did you guys lose me again?
We can
Nah,
hear you.
nah. Blazing
Okay,
right
cool.
with you, bro.
Yeah.
I saw somebody
Wow,
said
that's
I froze, but okay. Any questions on the Thorcast? What we're looking at here? What we should be looking at? And if you're not in a long, I wouldn't take a long here. What I may look at, if you do want to buy some Bitcoin or you do want a DCA, let's say you're not even looking to buy Bitcoin to sell, but you want a DCA, you just want to buy some more Bitcoin but below 30K. I wouldn't necessarily buy it right now because we're looking like we could be getting toward resistance. We were meeting that resistance line that I drew. We did just hit a take profit 3. I would look to maybe buy it down here when we hit a higher low. Look to see if we establish a higher low, find support on the RSI, and then start to pump back up. Even if you just want to buy a little bit more Bitcoin to have more Bitcoin, you should try to get it for, that 5% cheaper.
I have a question.
Fire away, bro.
A beginner question. So what you show us makes sense, and I understand it. But so I only have a little bit Bitcoin now on my Xverse wallet. How do I actually start? Best case, yeah.
So selling Bitcoin in your Xverse, like you got to definitely be aware of the fees and things like that.
Okay.
So maybe you want to look at taking a little bit of other capital and opening a contract, or maybe you want to just wait until there is the retest point. Or, take a little bit of that if it seems to be reasonable what you'll get out as far as profits versus fees. You could look at making just 5% more, which 5% more is pretty good,
Yeah.
Or if you kind of want to wait and get the more solid signals, the ones that usually tend to have the higher percentage and higher reward, you can wait to see when we get to this daily and then ride this down, which is closer to 9%. Or you know what I mean?
Mm,
What's your risk to reward, and what's it going to cost you in fees is what I would potentially look at. But is 5% good for you, or do you want to wait for something a little bit bigger, a little bit longer?
yeah. Usually I
Uh,
use Binance as a normal one to put fiat into the system. So is it better to leave it on Binance and do there my trading, or should I
um,
do
yeah,
it on my
see,
Xverse
okay,
Bitcoin wallet?
people still say a lot of different things about like different exchanges. I have some money on Binance that I trade. I have some money on Coinbase that I trade. What you don't want to do is have all of your money, all of your trading, all of your Bitcoin and shit like that on Binance. Because what if one day you can't log in? Or Binance just, I don't know, gets hacked or whatever. You
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
want to have all your eggs in that one fucking basket, whatever it may be. So when people say, "Oh, don't leave your money on exchange. Don't leave your money on exchange." Yeah, if you have a whole Bitcoin that you're keeping, you don't want to leave that whole Bitcoin there, right?
yeah.
Now, there's nothing wrong, in my opinion. Again, do some more research. I'm just a fucking bozo drawing lines on a chart. There's nothing wrong with putting a couple a couple hundred or even a couple $1,000 into a trading account on, say, Binance or something. Just be smart, with your passwords and everything else. You know the drill.
Yeah,
But yeah, buy a little bit of Bitcoin, sell some Bitcoin. You're actually probably going to pay cheaper fees doing that than potentially on drift. You'd have to check into it, but the fees would probably be a little bit less on a centralized exchange for Bitcoin, at least. Now, Solana's so cheap to trade. Like, you can trade on drift on Solana, and the fees for the network and everything are so low, it's probably cheaper than what Coinbase is, right?
yeah.
But yeah.
Usually I don't have anything on the sex. I put it on the wallet, but yeah, when
Right.
maybe I should let a little bit there and start then trading on Binance.
See, I don't think there's
Or a
anything
portion of
wrong
it.
with having some money in there trading, and when you start to make profits, then diversify it.
Yeah.
Maybe then move some back into a wallet. Don't leave it all there. Diversify as you earn.
Hey Mo,
Um,
do you use a ledger at all?
I do.
All right,
Yes, I do.
I haven't yet personally invested in one like I should have a year ago. I just wanted to. I mean, you gave me your answer. I should just hop
One
on it
thing.
because I don't know.
One thing to note. This is for everybody here considering getting a ledger. For the cost of it, I think it's definitely worth it for how much it protects you. The other thing is, do not buy it from anywhere but Ledger. Someone else could have potentially bought it, opened it, got the seed phrase, repackaged it, and is selling it to you as new, but has the info. So never buy a wallet from anywhere besides somewhere that is absolutely like the originator. You know what I'm saying? You could get
Yeah,
fucked
no doubt.
buying a wallet. Yeah. Like, I could say I could buy a ledger, get the password, package it back all pretty, and put it on eBay and say, "Oh, brand new unused ledger," and someone buy it. Me wait a year and then just log in because I have the shit and drain it. Right. So
So
always
basically,
only buy
you've
a ledger from Ledger.
you've rugged people this way. I take it then, Mo.
No, I have not. I have not. That's not
It's like
my. No, but yeah, it's possible. That's what you don't buy from secondary. Um, Anybody got any questions? We've been going 2 hours, and I'm kind of fucking tired. Um, Anybody got questions on the Thor
oh,
cast or
just
soul
one
charts?
last
Anything?
for me anyway. So I was a little confused initially with you know using the actual asset, like let's just say Soul, because I realize it's, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's because I'm using the contract and not the spot on the actual decks. Um, that's why, like, for instance, looking at the RM and seeing the amount of soul required, that's because Thor is a spot, um, or uses a spot trading instead of like a margin, contract
Not
where I'm using
exact.
USDT.
No. Basically, the difference is, the difference is the amount of initial capital you put in. So for Thor to consider a suitable risk to reward tolerance with, say, $100, you're going to have enough money to buy 231 Sol. So 231 Sol at $20, you have to have a very sizable trading account, right? So the reason this is the only difference between spot and a contract is spot, you own the Solana. You can go buy a Cyberfrog with it. You can move it to a ledger. You can do whatever you want. That contract you have, you can't do anything with that contract except add to it or close it, right? You can't buy Solana with that contract. Even though it says you bought 2 Solana with it, no, you didn't. You bought a contract with the price equivalent of 2 Solana. So there is really no difference whether you are. I'm just going to set this to 10 to make it more reasonable numbers. There's no difference whether you are selling 23 Solana that you already have at this price, or you're opening a contract for 23 Solana at this price. Makes no difference. The only difference is, are you using real Solana that you own, or are you using a contract?
So when I close, or when this contract closes, because I used USDT like for the short, it's not going to, whether it's, let's just say wishful thinking, let's just say it closes at that 1909, right? And let's just say I get
Take profit
10.
one.
Yep, let's just say I get that 10%. You're saying that 10% of I'm not getting that in USDT?
Yes.
Or
Yeah. If you close your contract right now, you don't have 2 Solana. You get whatever two Solana at this moment. When you hit take profit, it closes your contract of that 2 Solana value and gives you the USDT. No matter what you do with that contract, it will end up being just USDT. You don't own any real Solana.
okay, and let's just say trading for BTC. Let's just say I want to, continue stacking BTC, trading it. I would not use USDT. How would I go about that exactly?
You
Through a
could use
spot
US
instead?
you could use USDT, but you would buy spot with your USDT, not a contract with your USDT. You would buy Bitcoin with your
Oh,
USDT.
okay. Gotcha.
Yep.
Understood. I don't know why that concept was like
Whoever was
wrapped around my head.
Yeah. Well, you can use the USDT to buy whatever you want, not just contracts. Whoever was just Galaxy. Um, the Whichever the newest one is, I like better. The buttons are bigger, and I know that sounds silly, but if you're using it a lot, the bigger buttons right there to use is actually way fucking nicer. If you're going to use it once a week, once a month, maybe you don't. As JT just said. But yeah. Any other questions? I'll pull the charts back up. So real quick recap. We have the 4-hour short, 4-hour and daily, same entry, same take profits. We have the daily short. If you are looking to buy Bitcoin, wait at least for a higher low to form. I wouldn't be buying right now. I would wait to see the RSI kind of hold on neutral. I would wait to see the higher low form, or ultimately wait for Thor to make a long call, right? Wait for Thor to make another point and say, hey, here's where you buy. That's what I would suggest. And the 1K to 1 BTC, that's all I'll suggest, really. Wait for Thor to make a long call. If you want to get in. If you already have Bitcoin, look to maybe sell some, buy back cheaper. Or potentially, if you're just sitting on capital, maybe you can open a contract and whatever you make in USDT. So here's what you could do too, bro, is if you open up the short, right? Like, let's say you want to make more Solana with that short that you have, right? If you close your short, you made more USDT. Whatever USD, let's just say you earned $5 in USDT, right? Go buy $5 worth of Solana now. So if you want the profit in Solana, just go buy $5 worth of Solana. If you want the profit in USDT, then you have in USD. But don't go buy a contract for Solana $5. Go buy $5 worth of spot. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, of course.
same with Bitcoin. If you take your profit in USDT, well, you can turn around and decide to just use that USDT to stack more Bitcoin. So for the 1K to 1 BTC challenge, this 4-hour entry hit pretty nice, 7.45%. The daily and 4-hour short is looking pretty good, and you can see how we dropped hard here. Wouldn't be surprising if once we get there, we at least retest these zones. So I like both of these calls a lot right here. Could see 4-hour calls anytime. I will look to update the charts for kind of a weekend forecast once again. But yeah, that's what we're looking at for Thordinals for Thor and the 1K to 1 BTC challenge. Any questions on this before I go back to Solana chart real quick? Going once, twice. All right. Did this pull up the Solana chart, or do I have to switch streams?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay. So what we are seeing on Solana, again, congratulations if you took this trade. This was not a Thor call. This was just my own TA and what I saw, not financial advice. Do your own research, but you're up a good 11%. And I'm calling for the take profit to be here at the 4-hour short that Thor is calling. Now, we also do have a 4-hour long call from Solana. So we could see price break down from here. And if it does, and we don't keep the higher low, we could continue down to this point, maybe reset. Maybe that's our W there, and that'll be our grand scale fib. Oh, wrong tool. maybe we could see something fucking crazy like this. And look at that. The daily short is right there at the take profit on that tip. So, well, what did you do? Good. Oh, but not quite. I don't know why it jumped on me like that. But could potentially see something like that now that we have the 4-hour long call. So Thor is not saying we are going up to this point. Thor's not saying we're going to $21. Thor is not saying we are going to $18. What Thor is saying is if we hit 21, there's a high probability that we revisit 1965. If we drop to $18, there's a high probability that we revisit 1895 before we either break down further or continue up. You know, it's not telling you what price is doing. It's just making a prediction if we hit a price where it is potentially going to retrace and retest before making a bigger move in the opposite direction of the call. Sound good?
Hell yeah, man. Great session.
Appreciate all you guys for joining.
Man,
I hope
appreciate
that
you as
1 hour.
always.
Yeah, I hope that 1 hour call plays out well for you, man. And if anyone is looking to take a long, wait till this 4-hour long, or wait for the take profits of that 1 hour short that is now active, because maybe that will be where it reverses. And if you want to, I'm not necessarily suggesting you do this, but I know you are using smaller amounts of capital and you are getting more familiar with it, Young. You could look at closing your short contract at those take profit points. And if you see some of those indicators that we've given and reviewed, and you can review in the Tuesday Trader Review as well, if you see some of those indicators that we're staying bullish, you could close your short and turn it into a long at that 1910 range or wherever we see the indicators, and get that extra 8 to 9% before taking this 4-hour short. Again, I'm not necessarily suggesting you do it. I'm just
Yeah, no, that's definitely the plan. I want to scale that long as soon as it dips, and just see where it leads and what Thor has in its sights.
Right. And I just want to be very clear that this was my own personal TA call. That was not a Thor call for that long. So I just want to be clear on that necessarily wasn't a Thor call. Fucking Joe Beard, that fucking 1 of 1 is so sick, bro. I just noticed that in here. I've been staring at charts the whole time. So sick. Glad you got that pool, man. Dope as fuck.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Anybody else got any questions? Seriously, I'm going to wrap up soon, but I got time. If anyone has a question and wants to ask, like, that's what we're here for real. There's no dumb questions.
I have a quick question related to AutoThor. I don't know if this is like the right place to ask it or
Absolutely.
on another call. So
No, go ahead.
I set up AutoThor a while ago, like when I first bought my first frog before I got really in, and I've just been letting it run. I noticed like it's not like I know it's working, but I noticed like the soul, it's going up in like very, very small increments. Is that something that's like normal? Was it the way I set it up or how much I put in? Like, I'm just curious.
So we've been talking the whole stream. Small gains compound the bigger wins,
Did he
right?
rug or did I rug?
And can you guys hear me, or did I rug?
Yeah, we could hear you.
We can hear you.
Okay. Can you still hear me, Annie? I want to give her a second. I want to give her a second to come back in case she got rugged since she asked the question. All right, are you back, Annie?
Yeah, I think my laptop was rugging, so I jumped on my phone.
Okay, cool. Okay, so as we've been talking about the whole stream, small wins add up to big gains, right? And if we go here to the automated contract, why isn't it showing? For some reason, it's not showing the buy circles. But you can see Thor has been buying little bits, little bits, little bits, little bits. It's been buying a little bit. So it buys on the way down to sell on the way up, right? I don't know why it's not loading the buy and sell dots right now. Let me see if I can.
So then, does that just mean, is it just a reflection of the amount I put in initially?
I guess in a way, it doesn't matter how much you initially put in. Okay, there we go. So one thing that I don't think the contract does a good job of, and you guys are getting a look at my personal contract right now. My contract is saying that my USD value is at minus 0.5%, right? But my contract has actually made me a lot of money because, and we're going to change this because what this is saying is if I were to dump all the Solana that my contract holds right now, it would be worth this much less than when I put it in. But Thor is heavy on Sol right now, right? Only 37% is USDC, meaning the rest is in Solana. And if we look at what Thor is doing, it's buying, 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 buying. Well, Thor's good at buying the lows to then sell the highs. So if I were to sell all the Solana and the USD value right now, it would be low. But once Thor starts taking profits on what it's buying, it will be. What I'm saying is this doesn't account for your buying power. Right now, it's accumulating Sol to have more buying power to sell later. In my mind, this is saying if you just dump everything right now, which Thor is accumulating, so now is not a good time to dump right now. Does that help answer your question at all? You are just going to see it adding small amounts of Sol, but if you believe Solana is going to be, it's worth $20 now, if you believe it's going to be worth $50 or $100 again, accumulating those small amounts is going to add up to really big numbers.
So essentially, from what I'm understanding, that that half of the green right now is basically going to eat up most of the USD in a bear market because it's going to buy as much as as much as cheap as the price. I'm sorry, it's going to buy as low as possible. To then, when it reaches all-time highs, it'll do the switcheroo, and then that USD will eat up because it's going to sell all the Sol at the highest price, making the most amount of profits. Am I correct?
Correct. It's also going to sell some of this SOL at that 4-hour short and then buy it back. It's also going to sell some of this SOL at that daily short and buy it back. It's also sold a little bit of SOL probably at the 1 hour and gonna buy it back. It's pretty much taking all the active trades. But this is showing the grander overview that it's accumulating in large amounts down here, right? So it's buying down here to get ready to sell. If Thor is buying here, you don't want to be selling here. See, it was buying here at this price too. So it can buy down to sell up. DCA in, DCA out. 700 okay. $750 was if we 63 days ago, so let's just say 2 months. If I go back to July, if I go back to July 16th, right? Somewhere around July 16th. That was right at the top. You open your contract at the top. So SOL was somewhere around $28, right? So you open your contract when SOL was $28, and you now have 4 to 5 more SOL than you did at that time. Your contract's performing pretty fucking good, in my opinion. That's what I mean. It's like, to me, these numbers don't show you the buying power. Like, you have gained from what you had for the same amount of Solana, buying it at $28. You now have 4 extra Solana to sell when it gets back to that $28. This really doesn't show, in my opinion, a good representation of buying power and how fucking powerful Thor is. Now that I broke it down that way, does it make a little more sense and seem a little more profitable?
Yes.
Yeah, it makes sense. I just gotta get in, not at the top, and like when I did it, like I was literally brand new to frogs and I didn't know what I was doing. I was like, I'm just gonna try this. Um, I think next time I'll wait for a better entry and also put in more.
Well, no, if you think about it, that was probably the best thing you could have done with your Solana, because if you were just sitting there on it, you would still be holding the same amount of Solana, and it be you need to get back to $28.
Yeah,
When now you are sitting at an average of probably around the 20 some with an extra 4 to 5 Solana. So even though that was the top, playing the top or the bottom is the best thing to do with your Solana. So, like, it saved you by opening it at the top. It actually was a good play as well, if that makes sense, because Thor knew you're near the top. Let's get you better entries. Because otherwise you probably would have just kept it and would, now be, negative 12% or whatever at this point. So, yeah, that your contract performed very well. Opening on, that was probably near, you open your contract when damn near some of the Thor shorts, actually, not even knowing it. you opened up near some of the Thor shorts. So without knowing it, you made a good play in your SOL contract. And if instead of being down 12.12%, you're up an additional 5 SOL, fucking that's a big win. Thor is more powerful than that tool shows and represents, in my opinion.
Yeah, I
Like it's
agree.
saying, yeah. Very cool. Glad brought that to understanding a little bit more, because it confused me too at first. I'm like, well, holy shit. I thought this was going to help, and I'm like, the first one I opened, I'm like, what the fuck? My contract's down 9%. I'm like, I probably could have been doing better off managing it myself. And then I realized, oh, Thor's stacking the fuck up. It's buying Sol. Yeah, it's buying Sol, a bunch of Sol at 19, and price dropped to 18, but it's ready to sell it at 20 and 21. So it's, and it's still buying at the 18. So, okay, I get it. I see how. So, yeah, when you really break it down, it's fucking powerful as fuck.
Do we know what percentage of whatever you put in the contract it buys or sells when it does do that? Like, does it do your whole holdings, or like does it do like a small percentage of it?
So basically, what it does is it takes your money, it takes my money, it takes all the frog money, and it puts it into this pool right here. So we know that you can think of this as the entire contract, or you could think of this as your portion, right? You're basically holding 37% USDC, and the rest therefore in Solana. That 63% would be in Solana. And it will tell you right here what your current SOL is. So it doesn't necessarily say, it'll tell you here how much it bought and how much volume it spent, and you could consider this percentage versus the overall contract, and then know what it did with percentage wise with your contract specifically. If that makes sense. I know that's kind of long-winded, and it's not the best UI and best way to figure it out, but just consider this is what's happening with your money right now. Thor
So
has 37% of your money in USDC, and it has the other 63% in Solana ready to sell.
So is it like that 134K and some change? It uses that entire pool to do this buying and selling, and then it distributes it based on however much of that you own in the contract yourself, right? Like
Correct.
whatever the gain is. Okay, now I understand
Yep.
it.
Yeah. So let's just say you had 1% of this total pool. You just know this is what your contract is doing, but only at 1%. When it bought right here, 1% of this is what it was buying for you. When it was taking profit here, whatever percent it was taking 1%, because that's your percentage of the total volume.
Yeah, that makes total sense. Thank you for explaining that, because I didn't understand it.
For sure. Now, just something like I to talk about. You guys know we're scaling tap. I'm not going to say a lot because I'm tired, and I don't want to be like Andy and talk some alpha and say some shit I'm not supposed to. So I'm not going to say a lot. What I will say is getting more value locked, more TVL, increasing this number is important to us now. It is a focus of ours now. The bigger this wallet gets, the more of a whale wallet it is, the more it can operate and push around and take even smaller percentages. And as we know, small things add up to big wins. So getting a better understanding of this. Andy, you thought, you're like, man, I'm not really making much. And now you realize, holy shit, I would be 12% down, but instead I'm 5% up, 5 Solana up. That's a big deal, you know? So understanding how powerful Thor is and getting other people involved and getting this TVL locked, whether it's bringing in other communities, whether it's bringing in individuals or other trading groups. But we want to try to get this TVL up because all it's going to do is make more and more for all of us in all of its transactions. It's going to make more and more every time it takes this B soul or this M soul and stakes it, or takes this USD and stakes it while it's waiting to trade with it. We will all be gaining bigger percentages as this wallet grows and operates in a larger capacity. So just know that this is a big goal of ours that we are going to focus on. But this is also something as Frog community you guys can do for yourself, for your friends, and for us. Like, this is a win-win-win by letting people know how hard Thor fucks and how much it can make, even if you're like, oh shit, I didn't realize it was at the top. Even though you're at the top, it did something amazing for you. So please
Yo,
try to get some more people involved.
hey, I just want to say thanks again, Mode, and everyone. Love you all. Appreciate all the help and insight. I just convinced my girl to buy me 2 frogs tomorrow. Well, 2 more.
Oh shit! Let's go.
Yeah, I'm on a heavy accumulation wave right now. But
I fucking
yo,
love it, man. And
peace to everyone, and yo, thanks again, Mode. You're awesome, dude.
dude, and I appreciate you joining every week too, for real, because you ask a lot of questions. I can tell you really want to learn, and you really are trying to better yourself in your trading. And I am always willing to help someone that is willing to help themselves. So
Oh
I
man,
really
thanks.
enjoy you being here every week, bro.
No, dude, it's funny because like back in February, like when I was working at my other place, I was like, I want to learn, the ins and outs of trading and uh, you know the law of attraction. So I plan, by the end of the year, I'm going to be a profitable, confident trader for sure. Thanks to you and the team. So thanks again.
I fucking love it, dude. And you're already, I can tell, just your questions and more so the actions, the plays you are making. That is the biggest thing. It's it's easy for me to draw a bunch of lines on a chart. It's not as easy for me to make the trade and the play. Um, I'm a better analyst than I am trader, and you are doing well as a new trader, making the right actions. Just follow Thor, and I think you'll keep doing well, and you can absolutely by the end of the year reach a profit be status of a profitable trader. I truly believe that, dude.
Hell
Thanks
yeah,
for
dude.
joining.
That's the plan.
Yeah, that appreciate you, man. Yeah, I'm gonna wrap up actually, unless anyone has any further questions. Any further questions about the contract? Any further questions about charts? Whatever you guys want.
You got any
Annie, I
alpha
love
for
it.
it?
That's yeah, that Annie, that is what we all want. Become a consistently profitable trader. We all need to make the big bucks and fucking drive the Lambo right away. But we know how small wins, those baby steps, will add up to big things. And I mean, once you get to a right? So when you start getting to bigger accounts and everything, and you start with small, earn bigger, this is the fucking way. This is how frog community is going to fucking financial freedom. Exactly. Time is fucking money, and my time is valuable as fuck. Uh, I consider my time very valuable. I only get it I don't get it back. So it's not like a chart that goes up and down. It just keeps going away. So my time is valuable, and I am trying to earn as much of that freedom as I can. Exactly. That's the fucking goals.
Thank you for sharing your time and your knowledge with us.
Absolutely. You are more than welcome. I'm glad I could help you learn something, and I hope to help you guys learn something new again next week. I will do the Tuesday Trader review. I'll post the write up tomorrow, just kind of review the charts that we looked at, where we left off. And then also for the weekend, probably it'll probably be Saturday again. We'll have the weekend Thorcast for the BTC 1K to 1 BTC challenge.
So for Ordinals, there's a different voice chat.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that. Say again.
So for Ordinals is an extra voice chat scheduled on this weekend.
Oh no, I will post a chart. I'll
Okay.
post the chart on Saturday.
Okay.
I think there may be another channel for it, but we also just threw it up on Twitter for you guys this weekend. I'll be honest, I don't make those decisions as to what goes into what. I'm just trying to provide the best info when I can. What I can.
Cool. Thanks.
For sure, for sure. And you know, even if it is a different chat, if you join in the Tuesday Trader Review, you know we're going to touch on Bitcoin. We got to touch on the fucking king each week. So,
Yes. Yeah.
but all right. Anybody else? Last call for alcohol.
No.
All right.
4
Can I just
a.m.
get a
for me.
fuck that from everybody? How about that? All right, y'all. Thank you, Frogs. Fuck. I will
Thanks.
have the write ups done tomorrow. Appreciate everybody. Let's make some fucking money. Let's make that financial freedom. See y'all later. Have a good night.
Frogs fuck. Frogs fuck. Frogs fuck.
Thanks. Bye.
Frogs
The
fuck.
trend is my friend until the end. You got it, bro. You got it. I love it. Peace, y'all.
Frogs fuck.